Hi, I'm Bill, and welcome to my fourth episode of Not Your Crazy Uncle, entitled Abolishing the Minimum Wage. Please help our channel out by liking and subscribing, and if you really like what's going on here, please like us on Facebook and share these videos with your friends. And even if you don't necessarily agree with this particular video, it would be nice if you stuck around and we could discuss even more important issues that are facing our country. So, abolish the minimum wage? I don't claim to be an economic expert. There aren't going to be any studies or facts or figures here in this video. I'm just going to talk about my life experiences and observations and, for what it's worth, see what you think about my 10 reasons why we should abolish the minimum wage. So, reason number one, our politicians have no clue. First, a little perspective about where I'm coming from, and I'm going to go way back to the summer of 1983, where I got a job working for a furniture store. And I was making $3.35 an hour, which was the minimum wage at the time. Now, I didn't really work for the furniture store so much as the family that owned it. And they had purchased a building next door to their furniture store, and we were remodeling it and renovating it to make it part of their showroom. So for my efforts doing construction and all sorts of carpentry work, I was making a take-home pay of $102 a week. Now, I had decided at that time that I wanted to go back to college, so I was really trying to save up a lot of money. So in the evenings, I was doing odd jobs and lawn work for someone who owned properties in the area for, you guessed it, $3.35 an hour. And then on the weekends, I was working as a dishwasher at nighttime for a local hotel and convention center for, $3.35 an hour. But they had a policy where they took 20 cents an hour out of your pay for food, assuming that you would eat during your work time. Now, I worked overnight when there were no opportunities to eat, so I basically had 20 cents stolen from my paycheck. So I was working anywhere 70 to 80 hours a week with a high of 87 for no more than $3.35 an hour. So I was grossly underpaid for two of them, and then the one job where I was paid what I probably should have been paid, 20 cents an hour, was robbed from me. Now, I'm not saying this to say that it makes me any kind of an expert or any kind of sympathy or saying, well, look what I did, and if I did, you could too. I just want you to know that I have perspective on what it takes. There was a period of time where I had to survive on pizza delivery. And the politicians, the people in charge of all of this, the ones who decide how much we should or should not make, are basically either career politicians or people who've lived in wealth their entire life. Think Donald Trump, think the Bush family. Never knew what it was like to work for a living. Think Joseph Biden, think the Clintons. Spent practically their entire life in a government position. So none of these people, and you look at Congress and it's basically the same demographic, very few of them have any idea what it's like to work for a living or to support a family on a low wage. And they're the ones who are making these decisions. Number two, we just make up a number. There is a definable term called a living wage, a wage that is high enough to maintain a normal standard of living, but there's no way that you could apply this term to every person. There's various factors including age, health, family situation, career status. Are they a high school student, a college student, looking to support a family, second income, between full-time jobs? And another overlooked factor is location, with different costs of living throughout our country. So a high school student living in Mississippi, which has the lowest cost of living in our country, has the same minimum wage as a single parent in New York. Number three, minimum wage remains stagnant. No matter what number it's set at, it remains constant over years, ignoring inflation and the cost of living. Even if at first it does indeed provide a living wage for many people, it can't hold true for its duration. Even if we adjust for inflation, we're still dealing with an arbitrary number, and we eventually end up with Democrats and Republicans fighting over whether or not it should be raised. Reason number four, it represents legalized wage fixing. If companies get together and decide what they're going to pay employees, even though they're supposed to be in competition with each other, that's illegal. Companies are supposed to determine their own wages and let the free market decide who makes what. But that's not the case with minimum wage. Let's just take the big three of fast food as an example: McDonald's, Burger King, and Wendy's. they don't have to determine how much they pay their employees because the government has already done it for them. What's a fair wage to pay? Well, it doesn't really matter. They're going to get what the government says. Now the big three are going to set their prices accordingly. They're going to make whatever profits they determine to make with no regard for their payroll. Reason number 5, it creates an assembly line of cheap labor. In a smart business, the employers know to pay good employees more money, to keep them motivated, to make them want to advance. And it's great business sense to keep your good employees around rather than dealing with the turnover and the loss of business that you have when you have to train new employees or have to hire people who don't do as good a job as the previous ones. But that motivation is gone when your employees have such a cheap bottom line that all you have to do is replace them. And whatever business you lose, it doesn't really matter because you're paying so little in the first place. So it's easier to pay everyone minimum wage and not worry about the business you lose when you have poor service. Reason number 6, it puts the employees in a lose-lose situation. In many cases, the employee is stuck in a situation where they not only have low job satisfaction, but they are caught in a catch-22 where they cannot afford to live on the wages that they're making, but they can't afford to quit either. Reason number 7, it eliminates advancement opportunities in many companies. At some point, it's cheaper for the company to have 2 low-paying employees than it is to have 1 high-paid employee, especially when benefits are involved. So from their standpoint, they're better off having a couple of part-time minimum wage employees than 1 full-time, well-compensated employee. So reason number 8, I believe, is the most important of all. It sets the bar low. There's no motivation for businesses to give raises or have higher starting salaries because Uncle Sam has already done that for them. There's no competition, there's no reason to reward employees who are working hard, and there's no reason to try to bring in better employees with a better pay because everyone you're competing with is paying the same as you. As I've said earlier, it's been legalized wage fixing. Reason number 9, it deflates the perceived value of other jobs. If we set a bar for what minimum wage is, and then we start giving some incremental raises, it makes it seem like you're actually being promoted, you're actually getting a fair wage, when all you're getting is a higher low wage. Number 10, it's not the government's business. So every example that I gave, 1 through 9, was how it would benefit the employees, not the employers. This is not some right-winged commercial for a pro-business with the trickle down to the employees. I believe that if the government were to get out of this, somewhere that they have no business being, employees would make more, not less. But regardless, why does the government have the right to set salaries in the private world? Do we even have private business anymore? So here's a bonus thought to consider in addition to the 10 that I gave you. I said I wouldn't bog this video down with numbers and studies, but if you want to look this up, see how much the fast food industry is involved with lobbying and what they give in campaign contributions. Now, why would McDonald's, Burger King, and Wendy's want to be involved with Washington? Well, the only issue to me that makes great sense is the minimum wage. A couple $1 million invested in Washington policy could save them a whole lot more if they could keep wages lower. So after watching this video, even if you don't agree with me, even if I didn't change any minds, I hope that maybe you realize that abolishing the minimum wage isn't such a crazy idea, and maybe you'll even explore the issue a little bit further, knowing that I am not your crazy uncle.